Is Ohio State wearing on Ryan Day at all?
Well, I think college football is wearing on all college football coaches now, because I mean, I'll just for Ryan Day, you're a guy who, when you came to Ohio State, college football was much different. When you took the head coaching job, college football was much different. And so now, not only do you have to worry about recruiting, you have to re-recruit your own team so that you don't lose them to NIL. You recruit your heart out, and you get guys that want to come to your school, and then get bought out at the last minute, or not even the last minute, just get bought out. So you put all this effort and work into building rapport and convincing a kid, yes, I'm going to come to your school. Then somebody comes in with more money, and you know, now you're back at square one with somebody that you've been kind of putting on the side, and now you have to tell them, like, we always wanted you first. You were always our top target. And that's just off the field stuff. Then you get to on the field, and if you go 11-1 and lose the wrong one, people want you fired. And so, what is the benefit of this job? What is the good parts of this job? Obviously cashing $10 million check a year, and not that it's just one big check, but and not that it's obviously direct deposit, but it's the benefits, always the money. And Ryan Day enjoys being a coach and a mentor. But talking to past head coaches, like, what did you miss most about being an assistant coach? And it's always like, I missed coaching. Because once you become head coach, you're no longer coaching a position. And Ryan Day could still coach a position a little bit at quarterback, but now they've got plenty of guys doing that already. And he's taking more of a CEO role around the program to give himself more time for all of this other off the field crap that now has taken over college football. I'm interested to see what happens at the quarterback position at Wisconsin. It seems like I assume it's gonna be Tanner Mordecai who comes out of there, but they've just got so many guys, and you need that many guys to figure out what you want to do for that offense that's going to be completely different. So that's one. And Nebraska with Matt Rule, it's fascinating to me because I do believe in him as a head coach. I think he's done well wherever he's been in college. I don't know what that roster looks like in terms of how ready are they, and so that'll be interesting to watch. And will they have what kind of turnover have they had? Will they have? You just see what's going on at Colorado, and I know there's a Big Ten show, but you see what the kind of craziness going on at Colorado, and everything else seems completely tame. So it's still at Ohio State, they're still, I think, 3 over and still waiting for people to leave, and they've got another 6 days or so to get into the portal, and Ohio State will need some guys to leave. Now, they can leave anytime they want, but if they want to be obviously eligible this season, they need to leave in 6 days. Although Ohio State has never tried to keep anybody from being eligible. So even if somebody leaves in June, Ohio State's going to sign whatever waiver they want so that they can play right away. And that's something I don't even know the last guy that transferred from Ohio State who had to sit out. And this is going back, years and years and years before there was the one-time waiver.
Yeah, this is a Big Ten show, but since Colorado is on Nebraska's schedule, we can talk about Colorado by extension. So, did you see that scene on Saturday? Did you take that in?
I watched some of it. I can only watch so much of any one spring game, especially when I have to watch all of one entire spring game at Ohio State. But it's an awesome scene. I mean, that place is when that place is packed and Colorado is good, college football is better for it. We grew up with the Buffaloes and the Buffs in the '90s with the crazy, Mike Pritchard and all of those other guys that had on offense, Eric Bieniemy and Darian Hagan, and just some of the most entertaining offenses you've ever seen. Cordell Stewart. I think we can all remember where were you when Cordell Stewart hit Michael Westbrook in the end zone in Michigan Stadium? I was in my Ohio State dorm, and then there was much rejoicing as people ran up and down the hallways.
USC's a year and a half away. We tag on UCLA. I guess they're coming as well. I think that's still in play. But anyway, USC, UCLA. Would you agree with this thought that Ohio State, I guess I'll use the term arguably, even though I think it's definitely is the most consistently elite program in the country over the past, pick your time frame, 20 years, 50 years. USC is scary in terms of the potential. John McKay had all-time great teams. John Robinson had all-time great teams. Pete Carroll had some all-time great teams. That their ceiling is a little scary for Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, I think USC is the only program in the Big Ten. And I know when I say this, people are going to be like, well, have you seen the last 2 years? USC is the only program that can match Ohio State nationally in the Big Ten. And I say that because I view in terms of national championship contenders. I know Michigan has made the playoffs the last couple of years. I contend that they don't have the overall talent and really have a difficult time getting the overall talent to win a national championship. I don't think that would be the case for USC. Now, will they ever have the defense? Probably not as long as Alex Grinch is running the defense. We'll see there, but I just think the potential of USC is higher than the potential of Michigan and equal. You can say equal to the potential of Ohio State if it's running correctly. Because what Pete Carroll was doing in the early 2000s and mid to late 2000s was they were leaving everybody else in the dust. Recruiting was outstanding, and if Lincoln Riley could put some sort of fence around the California prospects he wants, and then also you have the NIL aspect of it as well to bring in guys that they missed on in the first season, then I think you got to put them right up there, and I think they are more detrimental to Michigan and Penn State and everybody else. But with this 12-team playoff, then it's like there's enough for everybody in the Big Ten. There's enough for 3 Big Ten teams to get in there. So now you're just picking of 3 of the top 4 between Ohio State, USC, Michigan, and Penn State, assuming UCLA doesn't, they aren't a sleeping giant at this point.
So I'm going to go to another program in the Big Ten, and this is on a completely different, lower level, but for who they are and for what they've been in the past, is Maryland a candidate to pop off and be something that they haven't been for a long, long time?
Mike Locksley has the recruiting chops and the territory to make something happen, and I think Maryland getting out of the Big Ten East will certainly help. So I think from 2 out of every 5 years they'll have a team that can beat one of those national title hoping teams. But will it be that team's second or third loss, or will it just be their only loss? So I think they could play spoiler. I don't know that they'll ever be able to contend. I would maybe probably put Wisconsin up there with Luke Fickell more than Maryland, even though Maryland has the better footprint. But like a Maryland with Luke Fickell, something like that. Like Mike Locksley, I think is good. He's not great. I think Luke Fickell is great.
Tony, if we wanted like 5 times as many people to watch this a live stream, I would just put college football realignment on the title. I do that every so often, and I'm a sucker because I
watch the metrics too, huh?
Yeah, I legitimately talk about it when I do that. I should just put it on every video. But we don't talk about this during the Ohio State show too often in regards to what's possible, because Ohio State's safe, they're good. But when you look at what's going on out there, and I'm sure you're going to say you have no idea, just like we don't, but at the same time, there are just so many different possibilities. I'm not talking about something that's going to get announced 6 weeks from now. We could be talking 3 years from now, whether that's Stanford and Cal joining the Southern California contingent, or whether that's Washington and Oregon, which of course have already applied to the Big Ten, whether that is finally, twisting Notre Dame's arm, or, the grant of rights breaking down in some kind of legal fashion, and it's Florida State, Miami, Clemson. Where do you, if you had to lay a guess, do you think this could be going?
I kind of have this vision of like if the Big Ten wanted Washington and Oregon, they'd already have them. So I think they're waiting, and they'll wait on Notre Dame for whatever amount of time they have left on the earth. But I kind of feel like the Big Ten and the SEC are waiting for the ACC to crumble, or to put enough angst in there that enough programs bow out so that there is no longer an ACC to grant rights. Basically, there's no longer a conference, and I view it like, the videos of the like the brides to be, like, all like waiting in the bride's store, and the doors open and they go rushing in. That's the Big Ten and the SEC going in to raid the ACC once this starts to crumble. They're just going to bust in there, and like the SEC is going to go and grab Clemson and put them in the cart. Big Ten's going to go, maybe, I don't know, grab Florida State and Georgia Tech and throw them in the cart, and you get out of there, because I think, to me, that's the next big step for the Big Ten, is moving south. I think that's the footprint that they don't really have. I know you'd like to have more people out, more programs out west, and maybe if you can go south and get a couple, then it makes more sense to get some out west. But right now, Washington and Oregon, that would just be, you do something to do something, and I think they'd rather take another large step and create another footprint. And I say Georgia Tech, and people are like, why Georgia Tech? And I mean, that's Atlanta, and you get the Big Ten in Atlanta, and that's another huge television market. And if you don't think television markets matter, then why did the Big Ten go and hire a television guy to be their commissioner?
Is Ohio State wearing on Ryan Day at all?
Well, I think college football is wearing on all college football coaches now, because, I mean, for Ryan Day, you're a guy who, when you came to Ohio State, college football was much different. When you took the head coaching job, college football was much different. And so now, not only do you have to worry about recruiting, you have to re-recruit your own team so that you don't lose them to NIL. You recruit your heart out, and you get guys that want to come to your school, and then get bought out at the last minute, or not even the last minute, just get bought out. So you put all this effort and work into building rapport and convincing a kid, yes, I'm going to come to your school. Then somebody comes in with more money, and now you're back at square one with somebody that you've been kind of putting on the side, and now you have to tell them, like, we always wanted you first. You were always our top target. And that's just off the field stuff. Then you get to on the field, and if you go 11-1 and lose the wrong one, people want you fired. And so, what is the benefit of this job? What is the good parts of this job? Obviously cashing $10 million check a year, and not that it's just one big check, and not that it's obviously direct deposit, but it's the benefits, always the money. And Ryan Day enjoys being a coach and a mentor. But talking to past head coaches, like, what did you miss most about being an assistant coach? And it's always like, I missed coaching. Because once you become head coach, you're no longer coaching a position. And Ryan Day could still coach a position a little bit at quarterback, but now they've got plenty of guys doing that already. And he's taking more of a CEO role around the program to give himself more time for all of this other off the field crap that now has taken over college football.
Folks, we do a Buckeye show live with Tony, Kevin Noon, and Steve Hellwagon every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Even if you're not a Buckeyes fan, non-Buckeyes fans will tell you probably in this chat, it is a must-see each and every week. Buckeye Weekly, Buckeye Huddle, College Football Playbook. Tony, what do we need to know about what's going on there?
Yeah, Buckeye Weekly, like you said, it's a couple times a week. During the season, it's almost every day, but we'll be dropping. I'm going to probably we got to do some listener question shows, because there's not much going on right now in terms of Ohio State. Nobody's transferring, so there's nothing to talk about right now. So we'll be doing some listener question shows this week. Buckeye Huddle, I'm just finishing up a piece on Brandon Ennis, 5-star receiver, with some clips of what people can expect to see from him once he hits the field. And then, like I said, CFP Playbook is dropping our top 25 right now based on some metrics from our guy Tyler Shoemaker.